Hey, this is Edithson Abelard, and in this video, we're going to continue from our last video on creating game assets for Unity 3D. And let's finish up our soda can. So as you can see here, this is the same soda can from before. And we have our beveled edges, we have, just some extra information polygons in just some key areas. And really what we want to do is add our little top here. Like you can make this without it. If you want to use an image, you can do that also, but sometimes it does go a long way just to model some extra features in there. Now what we're not going to do is this little top portion here. We're not going to create this by hand or manually moving polygons around and doing all that. We're actually going to do something different, and what we're going to do is go ahead and import. I've already created this, so I'll go up. I have an AI folder, and I have a few things in here. I have a canned top copy, and I have a logo. But really what I want to focus on is this copy. What I did was I went to Illustrator, I created this basic shape, and let's import this and take a look. Lovely. This is what happens when you use Illustrator and don't mind the storyboards, or the artboards, excuse me, not storyboards. But let me go ahead and create a new layer with this selected, and we're just going to hide that. Let's change this layer name to soda can. Save that. I'm going to go ahead and just delete these. So this is basically the shape I created in Illustrator. Really simple. Some really simple shapes, just pen tool. And what we're going to do now is go ahead and take this. We're going to just group it so we make it's easier to move around. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and fix this location here. If I go ahead and hit insert, make sure I have my move tool. We want to move this into the center of our shape. And because we didn't move it in the in the z-axis, we're good to go. Make sure insert is down. Go ahead and take this into -90 degrees. Hit up a few times. And I just want to position this so that when we bring back our soda can, it's in a good place. We can actually do something else. Get visible. We can still have that that template outline. All right, cool. So what we're doing here now is we did polygonal modeling before. We're going to do a little bit of surface modeling now. Now what we're going to do is our edit NURBS. Excuse me, our surface. We're going to take this NURB because that's what they consider it. In Illustrator, we'll call it a path. And here it's a NURBS. We're going to extrude this. Actually, before we extrude, let's make sure we know what the settings are. So I'm going to extrude, and now we can talk about the length, right? Hit apply. Now we have a deeper length. Now this actually will work. We will be doing a decent amount of cleaning up with this, but it's okay. We can change the scale if we want to. Obviously that did not work the way we planned it. We hit apply. You can also, instead of going extrude length, we can actually go ahead and make it flat, which also isn't something that works very well in this case. Now sometimes you may need to come in here, and the reason why I'm showing this is you really, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. And you may just want to come in here and play around and see what kind of shapes come in here. Because to tell you the truth, you might actually get some pretty interesting shapes that you'll want to use in the future. But in our case, what we really want is the distance, the extrude length, we'll keep it at 1. Keep all of this information the same. Yes, we want to make sure it's quads. All right, perfect. Oh, make sure this is polygons right here, the output geometry. We don't want NURBS because we really aren't going to be able to use NURBS in the game. We want to make sure it's polygons. All right, so we hit apply, and now what we'll see is this is nasty. Now, none of this is actually connected, which is rather poor on our part, but that's fine though. We're going to go ahead, go to Polygon, and the first thing I want to do is take this mesh and combine it. All right, so now that our mesh is combined, we're still missing one crucial part, and that's this mesh actually isn't combined. We're gonna have to go back and now go ahead and actually go point by point, vertex by vertex, and start connecting and bridging a lot of these sections. So let's start off by first getting rid of, I'm just going to move this. I want to make sure that we get rid of our NURBS, because we no longer need that. And we're going to do the same thing that we did before, and it's that we're going to come back in here, change our profile view, hit insert, and just bring our registration point up into the center area of our model or geometry. All right, cool. All right, so now that these are connected, what we really need to do, or combine is the word, what we need to do now is go ahead and do a little bit of extruding and then connect the dots, really. So let's go in here, and on this outside, there's definitely a lot of extra information. I don't want to get confused. So I'm just going to select all of these edges, make sure that this goes all the way around, and then I'm just going to delete the edges. Now this is just going to make it a lot easier for when we're taking each portion and combining them. We just have less points to worry about. Now we're going to do the same thing here, because like things like this where you have edges that don't complete, you really don't want to deal with them later on. So let's just get rid of them while we still have them. Come here, do the same thing here, get rid of those. Now this is just some cleanup that you can do at a later portion, but while we're doing this, we might as well just do it right. So we'll delete those edges, and that just leaves us with one center edge. So let's do that also over here. Some of this you might not be able to see, so just move your camera around until you can see it. All right, perfect. Delete those edges. All right, great. Now, if we just bring back our reference image once more, you'll see that there is just you can see that inside of here, or we all know what a can looks like. So inside of there, it actually extends a little bit. So what we want to do is make sure that we extend. We don't want to just combine these vertices. If we are to combine these vertices, let's go ahead and grab a vertex. We're going to say U to U. If we grab these and just say merge vertices, you'll see that it creates a sharp point. We don't want a sharp point. So what we're going to do is just choose some of these edges. And we're going to extrude the edge just a little bit. So let's do the outside edge, just because that might be easier to deal with. Actually, no, let's do these inner edges, because these inner edges have to go outside anyways. So let's grab this, extrude, and we're just going to go outwards just a little bit. All right, so let's do the same thing on this side. I'm gonna hit G again just to repeat the last command. Change the axis. All right, cool. So some of this doesn't actually line up, but that's okay. We'll keep working on it and we'll fix that. We'll do the same thing on the bottom. Actually, I don't want to see anything weird happen, so we're just going to do one at a time. And same thing, we're just going to create a little more geometry, just so we have a little bit more to connect to. And then let's grab this edge and we'll do the same thing. Hit G and scale it up a little bit. It seems like we have just, oh, we changed the axis again. So always remember to do that. All right, cool. So what we're going to do now is really connect the dots. We're going to take the top vertices and connect them together. And we're going to connect the bottom vertices together. And we're going to do this throughout this whole entire shape. So I'm going to start it. It is a long process. So I'm just going to start it and same, as we did before this time, merge vertices. As you can see, it does look a lot better. Now we have that centerpiece. But remember, you do have to make sure you have enough to go around for the ring. So choosing which ones to merge is also very important. So I know that I want these to merge. So what I might want to do is when I get to a certain point, I may want to now continue and merge these and then merge some other ones and come back to some of them that look a little more troubled. For example, this area, we have a lot more detail here than we do out here. So we may end up, splitting this to here and splitting here and then coming back across that way. So let's grab these two, merge, merge. Now it's starting to get a little tricky. What direction we're going to go in? We merge these. Now that to come out like that. I don't know. So let's go ahead and go on the other side, and we're just going to keep going with this. Merge, merge. So before, sometimes it's easier just to come back to some of these more troubled areas so that you do have more of a shape. See, once again, we're running into a trouble. We can merge these two, just like we did with the other side. But it's starting to really get a little funky. So we want to, maybe go off and do some more of the mesh. So just going around just to check it out. Now what I can do is I can grab this and start coming here and then just taking all of these and matching them. And if I have any extra data, I might end up having to create new edge loops for it. But that's also fine because we'll clean this up again later on. So we merge. Make sure you're not selecting multiples because you hit that and now you start getting this weird geometry here. So make sure when you're choosing these vertices that the edge you're choosing is the edge you want to choose. Now, what we did here, I don't like because it's bending a little bit. And I know when we come back here, it's going to be a pain to make sure that this keeps the shape. So I'm just going to select this edge and we're going to extrude this edge the same way we did with the other edges. Okay. All right, just so we have a flat surface. So back into vertex mode. And we'll grab that, merge vertices. That's better. So now we have a better surface to actually work with. So keep hitting that. Now something that happens a lot is when you start merging these, we gotta make sure we do the bottom as well. Is we don't want this to start merging and for us not to realize which vertice we actually merge. So let's make sure that anytime you do the top or bottom, you do the opposite side also, so you don't get confused later on. All right. So let's look at this. Looks like these two get merged. Merge vertices. These two are going to get merged. Merge those. Now this is starting to get awkward, but it's all right. We're going to we can add another loop here, or we can make these go this one to this one, this one to this one, and this one to that one. In this case, that will actually work for us. So let's do that. It is a far merge, but that's fine. inside. Okay, that might be too far for it to merge. So let's just try moving this over a little bit. There are a number of ways that you can do this, but there you go. Merge that. Merge that. Remember making sure that we do just a little bit of work everywhere. We don't want to OD and do too much in one section and then end up finding ourselves, you know, adding so much more time and effort into one area and neglect another. Okay, so now we have one of those issues again where, you know, how we're going to combine these. Well, I like the fact that these two are very close to each other. So let me go ahead and combine these two. Look underneath, grab that, combine those two. Now it starts to get a little tricky. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4 edges here, 1, 2, 3 edges here. Now, what will make this really simple is if we just go into object mode, and just add another edge. We'll add it here. And that just fixes, now we can just come across. Actually, we should probably put one here. One here. This one combines with that one there, that one there. And hey, we might just be missing one here. So we'll add another one there. And the reason for doing all this is we just definitely want to make sure that our meshes, they work the way that we want them to. If you start having too many loops or some of these edges don't flow correctly, later on, you know, that'll definitely start biting, especially when you have more complicated meshes. Merge vertices. Go ahead and merge the vertices. So we're just going to keep going around and doing this until we complete it. Merge. And then go underneath and do the same thing. Whoa, looks like we have a little tight there. Merge those two. Once again, you want to make sure, you know, especially when you get these awkward angles, that you don't go ahead and grab multiple points and you know, try to figure out how come it's not working. Or even worse, when they're closer together, to actually see them, you know, 3 points merge. So just be very cautious as you're doing, you know, all of your merging. You don't want to start adding multiple points, multiple unnecessary points. Okay, so we're almost back at that area. And it looks like we can do U and U. Let's merge those. Let's go ahead and merge these. And once again, we still have this area that's going to look really bad, but we'll figure it out. Merge these. Just zooming in. Sometimes it's just easier to select them and hit F and just zoom in on what's selected. You don't have to do it every time, but it does help. And so I'm just going back and forth and, you know, just going around this whole thing. Now, I think I've gone far enough without merging them. Go ahead and grab these portions. It's alright if it's too far. You can increase how far the merge radius will be, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to manually move this closer. That'll help it merge. There you go. I think this should be fine. There you go. I think this one is definitely too far. So let's move it. Grab those two. Make sure that only those two are selected. And just keep merging. Now, something that you might watch is this starts to get a little confusing. Make sure you're not merging from the outside, because once again, you'll get just a weird polygon. So let's go ahead and move this just a little closer. And you see, there you go. Selected more than I need to. Go back and just deselect the other one. Make sure we merge the tops as well, because remember, this is starting to get just a little more complicated as we get to these areas. So we want to make sure that, you know, as much of this is evenly distributed as possible. So I'm going to merge. Actually, those are way too far. That's fine. Those two are close enough. Okay, so now once again we're getting to one of those little ugly situations. We'll merge these two. Open this up and merge that. We can merge this. Merge that. Okay, these are obviously too far apart. We'll just make them a little closer. Merge them. Don't want to just start merging for no reason. So really, we only have these. I think this actually worked out pretty well. This actually worked out well. Sometimes you end up having, you know, just random polygon shapes that you end up having to keep. But in this case, like I said, right here, we really don't want, you know, a position where we have so many vertices coming into one area. You want to keep these as quads, as, you know, just as best as possible. But so in this case, we have, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Over here, this one point has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, and so we really wanted to keep it down to 4, but in this case, we really didn't have much choice. So that's fine though. We'll probably end up doing a retopology anyways. Now this one can get a little tricky, it looks like. So we know we probably could merge. Actually, let me just double check. I did the bottom of these. Yep, I did. Okay. So we probably can get away with doing the same thing on this end and merging these two. Merging these two. Now, what we have here is we have 1 to 3. Now, we can just go ahead and create more edge loops over here so that they can connect. You know, let's do that instead of making this any more complicated. Let's go ahead and create insert edge loop. We'll do 1 and we'll do 2. And what that gives us now is a 3 to 3. So go back into vertex. Select. Oops, we did edge loop last, so let's make sure we merge vertices. Merge vertices. Merge vertices. Merge vertices. Merge vertices. And our final vertices. Boom. So now we have the top to this. So what we'll do in our next video, because this was a long one, very long-winded, but I want to make sure that you saw everything and that you understood how it is a tedious task, but it's very important that you do it and you do it right the first time. And now that you have this under your belt, we can go ahead and go on to our next step.